All right. All right, everyone. This live stream will be starting. Hi, everyone. Live stream will be starting really soon. I just need to make sure it's all set to go. As usual, around 11:05, and it should be nice. I'm getting it set up and making sure everything's running smoothly. So, about 5 more minutes, and it will begin with the presentation. All right. We'll be going live in about 5 minutes.
Hey, buddy.
Oh, how you doing?
It's doing good.
Starting soon. right. Another episode of Whatever Happened to the Game. And back to talking about video games. This is Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Not quite in order, but this was a big one and one of the highest selling ones of the series.
I think it's fair to say it's easily one of the most popular games of the whole franchise, if not the franchise.
Yeah, I mean, it was among the highest selling until Twilight Princess. So for a number of years, actually, because Twilight Princess was 2006, and that's a good year because that's 2006 would mean the 20th anniversary of when the first game was released, actually. So, but for a while, almost 10 years, it had the highest selling until Twilight Princess did better.
Mm-hmm.
So previously we were talking about Unbreakable, the early and probably among the better movies by M. Night Shyamalan. And again, more bad news, which I just want to get out of the way at first. EA Games is possibly ending Need for Speed. The franchise went on for almost 30 years, but the multiplayer is being shut down for Rivals. So, yeah. I didn't quite get into the Need for Speed games. I mostly did a Mario Kart or San Francisco Rush. That was the other one. But I'm kind of sad if they can't, but they do what they do. I do hope that some of these games that don't have multiplayer, they have had some fans set up their own server to do some multiplayer games. Examples in recent years have included The Matrix Online, which is crazy because this is 10 to almost 20 years later after that game went off, but some people who really were interested decided to get their own server rented or bought and hosted their own games years after the fact. So who knows? But it's just a sad part of like what happens when you depend on online to run a game.
Yeah, that's why I'm in favor of the Stop Killing Games initiative. But then you got people like Pirate Software who are just doing everything possible to destroy it, and I've lost all faith and respect for that man.
Yeah, like I'm betting I haven't followed it too well. I'm betting there's a scandal for some of the key people in there.
So to super simplify it, Stop Killing Games is an initiative to try and get the EU organizations and governments to allow companies, after making profit off of games for so many years, to basically give away the game that no one plays. So all of the games that are basically dead, like let's say in like 30 years, no one's playing World of Warcraft anymore. They would want, people would want to privatize the servers for World of Warcraft so people could continue to play it, right?
Oh, right. I mean, I do feel that people might need to rethink and really discuss how copyright works, because for things like video games, I mean, we haven't had the whole 75-year limit on a video game at this point. And it's left in doubt if we could even have something that, unlike a mass printed book, have a video game that is, dead long before public domain is an issue.
Yeah. So with all of that, and then and it can go for any game. Like realistically, it can go for things like Concord and even Need for Speed Rivals here. The problem is that Pirate Software, a guy who's supposedly in favor of everybody getting, games and supporting them and yada, 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 has now gone like full, only the organization, only the company that owns it gets to use it. Individuals cannot have or own the game. They cannot privatize it. they shouldn't be allowed to. When a game is off, it's turned off. Like he has done a complete 180 of everything he's said over the last few years, and people have gone after him so hard that they're trying to investigate everything about him and just tearing him apart. His coding, his lies, his hypocrisy, everything. It's crazy how much has been revealed about him in the last like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, that is disappointing. I mean, what? I mean, assuming you don't like get a game cartridge like dirty and you don't smash it, those things last a while because of the whole solid state architecture. So,
yep,
I don't know. That is disappointing, Chaos. It really is. Like, I mean, like I was mentioning, Shadow, nice of you to join us. Like I was mentioning, like you mentioned an earlier time, game cartridges are very tough. I mean, of course, you don't want them to get wet, and there are storage issues, but things that a disc would have, like ultraviolet radiation, ruins a Blu-ray or a DVD or whatever kind of disc. But cartridges are tough. They don't store a lot of data, but they're pretty tough.
Which is wild, because realistically nowadays, if we were to make game cartridges that were even remotely comparable to the N64, we could fit, the massive, we could fit a large sized storage unit in it to be able to transfer the data quickly. Like, there's no reason you couldn't do cartridges nowadays.
Well, they do. And I'm only mentioning this because they're being sold on Amazon. It's not perfect, but Amazon is literally selling Game Boy or DS cartridges that have many games.
In
one cartridge. So, I mean, it's doable.
I'm talking about like modern, but the modern games. Like, there's no reason to have like you've got the 100 gigabyte
right
duties and all that. Like, we could fit that on like a half a terabyte like storage device that's just spread across a singular green board, and you could just have a cartridge where could you imagine playing a game like Call of Duty and there's basically zero loading?
Oh, I can imagine it. I mean, the actual I was messing when I was taking a look at possible birthday presents. I didn't spoil it for my children. I just let them see like what would they be interested in. I went to the Switch 2, and I actually decided, to try how this thing works with the actual first party game in the Target store. And yeah, it loads up like crazy if you're doing the actual Nintendo native games that are all 64 gigabytes on one card. It loads. But I mean, again, Switch 2 being Switch 2, it's a question of, are they going to be able to keep that limit for a card of 64 gigabytes? I'm thinking probably not. Now, obviously, Nintendo games like the newest Mario Kart don't have a lot of the assets, and Nintendo has long cut corners in terms of data storage on a cartridge or whatever game disc they use, but compared to their competition, but it has improved by a lot. By a lot. And even now you can go to Steam and there are plenty of indie games that aren't even 10 gigabytes. I mean, but again, indie games. And I can see indie games having their niche for a long time.
Oh yeah, I don't think
they don't cost so much. They don't cost so much. They don't take up much storage space. It works. But yeah, this is one of those things. It's the problem. Like, if your game is multiplayer only or online dependent, like, what are you going to do? Because for those people with Need for Speed Rivals, it's the online service is going off, so you can't really play it unless someone makes a virtual server on their own. And that isn't free for the person making the virtual server. Well, they could. And the funny part is CD Projekt Red really took Cyberpunk 2077 and made a full game on a card for Nintendo Switch 2. They did it. I'd like to know how they did it, but there are things such as, having the game playable in many resolutions. That takes up space. Then there's the assets in the game, which depend on the number of polygons and the number of different behaviors that asset has, and that takes up data. It's a bit complicated, but and there's a number of colors. There's so many things that go into it, and I don't want to waste a whole block before we talk about Ocarina of Time. But there are a lot of things that you could take out, and you would substantially reduce the data a game takes up. And Nintendo has been doing it for a long time. So, we're getting to the real one. I don't want to talk much about Ubisoft because there wasn't much new on the news for them. They're still doing layoffs.
Mm-hmm.
But Legend of Zelda. So, to get a little thing, we're going to recap on how the game series progressed leading up to Ocarina of Time. So, it was originally a floppy disk on the Nintendo Famicom PC. Has always had role-playing elements such as shops and minor dialogue with NPCs. I'm thinking of doing a later one. I'm saying where myself and maybe a guest argue like what really is or is not a role-playing game, but that's for another time. The game is a dungeon crawler, which you can collect new items, new armor, new weapons, other equipment to access other areas. So, to an end boss who's usually Ganon or Ganondorf. One more secret was released on the NES, Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. It was different because it used a 2-button inventory assignment system, and it had side-scrolling when you weren't on the world map. Yeah, so Shadow, the Famicom was a personal computer made by Nintendo where you inserted floppy disks. Just like, let me think, an Apple II or an earlier DOS floppy disk machine. Nintendo had their own version of it.
Yeah, the Famicom actually has a lot of features that many of the games on the NES over here in the United States never got, like saves.
Yeah. In fact, it's funny you mentioned that because the first Castlevania, the Famicom version has the save states on it, and you can save the game at the beginning of a new level. So you've reached stage 3, you can save the game at that point and resume at that point in the game. The NES did not do that. The floppy disks for the Famicom had more data than the NES cartridges, but the NES cartridges, they're more durable in a number of ways than the floppy disks for the Famicom were.
Yep. And Zelda as well as Metroid both had actual saves.
Yeah, they did. So, but getting back here, the Legend of Zelda was the first time you could save on an NES cartridge and not a Famicom disc.
Yeah, right, because this one came out before Final Fantasy, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
A little bit before Final Fantasy, but yeah, this is the first time you could save using a cartridge instead of the Famicom floppy disks. So, going a little forward, you went back to something closer to the original Legend of Zelda with the third one, Link to the Past, and it is a prequel, not a sequel to Zelda 2 and the original Legend of Zelda.
This is a prequel?
Yes, it is.
In terms of the overall timeline, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotcha. Okay.
So it takes place before as a way of explaining like how, because you have it written in Zelda 3 that, Ganon was originally a man named Ganondorf. They didn't go into the Gerudo thing until Ocarina of Time, but, it had there's text in the game where you can read, okay, this is what Ganon's origin story was. He used to be Ganondorf. Now he's a pig.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is still my personal favorite Zelda game of all time.
It's pretty good. I mean, it's 1991, 1992, depending on where the release was. It had some interesting music, and it began the mechanic of playing a musical instrument. It had the ocarina in it. They call it the flute in
The
English,
flute.
but
Yeah.
But it
It's
had
very
some of the
clearly the
foundation.
ocarina.
Yeah. The ocarina being a type of flute made using wood by Giuseppe Donati in Italy back in the 1850s. The one that the reason, and then they call it the ocarina because it has the 10 holes in the wooden flute that you put your fingers over to affect the notes you're blowing out. It's pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
There are also the portable games, Link's Awakening, and some of them are after, but the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color. So Link's Awakening did use the same Link Zelda 2 system of having, in the lower levels of the dungeon, you'd have side scrolling, and in the inventory, you have the 2-button assignment system, just like you had in Zelda 2.
Yeah, as a step backwards in technology, they still managed to make the game a bit better than two of the previous titles.
That they did.
I don't mind. I don't mind switching back to the 2D view either. I think it actually works for certain things.
It did. I mean, the Game Boy in general was slightly smaller in the storage space, but it was portable and it was portable and it was battery powered. So slightly smaller cartridges, but it was the beginning where Nintendo pretty much owned the whole concept of a portable console. Later, Sega would do their own attempt, and later Sony did theirs as well. But no one wants to be left behind in the type of thing. Yeah, I mean, the ocarinas predate Zelda, but the Legend of Zelda games make it appear that it's in some kind of medieval time, but the ocarina was invented in Italy in the 19th century. But I think it was a nice way for the makers of the game to incorporate various elements from all over the world into their game, where they made Legend of Zelda. Sony phone. I think I do. That was a long time ago. Sony selling mobile phones. But, mobile phones were a big thing and everyone wanted a piece of it. So after they came up with the Link's Awakening and Link to the Past, they started realizing it was time to start having a new console for Nintendo. Sony started the PlayStation in late 1994, and you don't want to be left behind. So Nintendo started working on coming up with their own one, and at the same time, they said, "Okay, we need something of ours to include on our new console when we finally get this Nintendo Next Generation working." So this was a very long time in the making. It was around 3 or 4 years making this, and part of it was the real mess that they had alternating teams in development. So they passed on development to one team after another while they were doing this, which is part of the delay in it not being released as they thought they would in the year of Mario 64. It ended up being 1998, 2 years later.
And what a crazy jump in from 2D to 3D that they pulled with this game.
Oh yeah. I think the craziest part was how they placed various items in the game so that it feels like it's larger.
Agreed. They didn't pack as much as they could have, but I really do think that because of the spacing, they managed to make the whole story and the world itself feel more epic when in reality if they had compressed everything, it wouldn't have had the same grandiose effect that it used to have. And when you combine that with various elements that like take up time to because I do think that in a way artificially like expanding worlds and length of time by you have day and night cycles. Hyrule Castle Town will close its gate at
Right.
dusk. All of these elements, like there are ways to fill out the waiting time because otherwise there would be no reason to.
Right. And it also used that similar system of light and dark world, only they said, okay, this is the past and this is the future. Like there's the past world, there's the future
Mhm.
world. You go to the future, certain areas are opened up that were not open in the past.
Yeah, and it's not they're not grandiose changes. They just moved certain objects over, like the bazaar switches from Castletown to Kakariko and um uh the bunch of the people from Castletown are just moved to different villages. Like like that's it. That's all they did.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah, because Castletown took so much abuse from the events of Ganon's takeover that it's really the only place that actually made changes. Everyone else's town, like the Goron City and Zora's Domain, like Zora's Domain is funny because they just iced everything over and we're like, no, let's just get rid of the assets because if we do that, then we can move these things over here.
Right. And you didn't have to have
So funny.
as many of the characters in that place when it's frozen, right?
Yeah.
The other fun part was they had holes in the ground at various spots, so you have a place within a place. I mean the other Zelda did that too. You go into a cave, but in this one it kind of worked in making things seem a little bigger because you have these areas inside the small hole in the ground where somehow they fit a cow and a multiple treasure chests in the fire on the way to the fire temple.
Hmm. Yeah, because that makes sense. There's just a cow on the ground.
Yeah. But the one thing I do enjoy because you played the ocarina in Link to the Past, but now you have to do multiple songs where you actually play it out using the Nintendo 64 buttons, and each song has a different effect. Whereas it was originally just fast traveling with the bird picking you up.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot of hidden like Easter eggs throughout the various temples in the game. Um, of course, this is the special edition gold cartridge for the game.
Yeah, it's interesting how a lot of people actually still think that the gold cartridge was actually the common one when for Ocarina it was actually the gray cartridge. That's the reverse for Majora's Mask.
Yeah, which is funny. Almost like there was a little joke to Majora's Mask. And yeah, the other part is like the title in the slide says it was a reboot of the series.
Mm-hmm.
It was a whole new timeline that assumes something different happened in the past, so that it's a new timeline where things didn't go with Link to the Past. But maybe Zelda 1 and 2 happened because they're later on. But this Majora's Mask and Twilight Princess are the ones that are really connected together. Skyward Sword's a prequel, and the Nintendo Switch ones are such that they're just far in the future where everything's legend from the past before. So
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty complicated. But this was a reboot at the time. A lot of people would be Chaos. Like that was the 1990s where they started taking off with those.
Yeah, and back then when people, before they came up with the timeline, so many people were trying to figure out like where did is this a proper sequel? Is this a prequel? Like which is it?
More or less. But for a lot of the time, there's usually sets of 2 or 3 games that are really connected. But some of them you just don't have an obligation to know what came before it. Like, so I mean, you have to look in the manual for Link's Awakening to see that was right after A Link to the Past with the same character that you're playing as.
Mm-hmm.
Majora's Mask, when it follows this, it does a lot because it does go into mentioning Epona, and of course the 2 sisters you meet are basically, they both look like young and old Malin that you meet in Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
So many Easter eggs telling you that Majora's Mask is a sequel. Yeah, so we've already mentioned this. It has been among the most re-released. It has GameCube, Nintendo 3DS, and the third is they released it and Majora's Mask on the Switch Store online. So, but up until Majora's Mask, it was 7.7 million games sold. And it took until Twilight Princess to exceed that number.
Never actually played Master Quest.
Master Quest has some new game modes and extra dungeons, but that's about it. It's mostly the same graphics as the original Ocarina of Time. Well, Shadow, at least in Majora's Mask, you had different instruments depending on which mask and form you had. Like you hit I believe it was drums with the Goron, and so on, and or the music instrument you got as a Zora, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and so far it's looking like Nintendo's actually gonna, for Switch 2, they're gonna do a re-release for this, not a new game. So I'm disappointed. But I'm not gonna say it's confirmed until it's confirmed. I just don't think it's the greatest idea because I already am playing the original Ocarina of Time with the Switch 1.
Mm-hmm.
But you never know because they still got sales from doing Link Awakening on the Switch, so I don't know. What do I know? There were some cultural references in Ocarina of Time. You see, so there were 3. They mentioned the 3 goddesses in Ocarina of Time, and here's the whole bringing the islands up from the sea by the 3 goddesses here, and that's Japanese mythology. And
Yeah, because of the 3D world and what they were able to squeeze in, this is definitely how this is definitely like the first real time that they were able to expand upon the culture proper.
oh yeah, it
You know,
was also
going
nice
on with
because they used motion capture, like you see in the lower right hand corner, for to get the sword moves that Link uses in the game. So they
Mhm,
use people like this doing chambara, which is a type of Japanese sword art, to do the moves for Link when he's using these swords.
mhm.
So,
Especially in Majora's Mask because they had that trainer in town that actually had like a Japanese dojo.
oh yeah, yeah. And I've always had that wonder if Majora's Mask was all just a dream that he was having after Ocarina of Time. I wonder that sometimes.
Mhm.
And the trailer, if you were around to see the trailer for this game on TV or in the movie theater, it used the song Riders of Doom from Conan the Barbarian. So I won't quite get into there, but I will. I'll have a link. I'll write a link for the trailer for Legend of Zelda that was shown in movie theaters, so you can see it and listen to it for yourself. But yeah, it's interesting they use Conan the Barbarian music to advertise this game.
Hey, Alexander, how you doing, buddy?
How you doing, Alex? So, so I'm going to go and find the just quickly just to show some footage, and we'll keep commenting a little bit.
Mhm. Yeah, it's interesting how the game has like because realistically, the game is not crazy good by especially by today's standards. But as a game for a Zelda franchise, I went through and I had time a while ago to play a bunch of those that I had not been able to, and it's wild that like Ocarina is actually one of the stronger games in the franchise because so many people like it's sort of like Marvel. It's like, well, it's not actually all that good right now, and it's not like it's really like being good. But yeah, somehow like it actually is like one of the stronger titles.
It it moved into new territory with the mechanics.
Mhm.
It built on what came before it. So this is the 3DS version of it, but it's interesting how they still play the intro music when they start it instead of the Kokiri Forest music. Uh, Come on here.
Yeah, and even now, it's interesting how many people still use and like depend on pretty revolutionary ideas if we're being totally serious, right? Like the day and night cycle had been done before because I think Castlevania 2 was the first one that actually implemented that. Um, but then you have like the music had never been better in overall quality than it was on the 64. Uh, up until some later PS1 titles managed to blow that out of the water, like Final Fantasy VII and Tactics and
Right.
Symphony of the Night, of course. Um, but everybody still uses Z targeting. Everybody, Dark Souls still uses it, you know?
Indeed, it does.
Link was a guest character in the GameCube version of Soul Calibur 2. Yep, and he was one of my favorites.
And of course, he's in every single Super Smash Brothers.
And he's almost never good.
Yeah, you really have to know how to use them. I mean, his arrow is long range. You have to know how to throw the bomb because otherwise it'll just blow up in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my.
She was driving drunk. It's okay.
You mean flying drunk?
Yeah, just the worst time for Ganondorf to take over or implement his plan because she was having a hangover.
No, have you ever seen Navi finally is helpful?
No.
It's pretty funny. It's where Navi says like, "Hey, Link, listen to me. What if that rupee is actually a bomb laid by Ganon?" And then it was. It's like I believe it was a purple rupee. I'm gonna skip.
He was also the main character of a Smash Bros. Comic sketch by Smash Gits. Yeah, Link has been the main character for so many different things. He has left Link has left an indelible mark upon the video game world, which I think is totally fine. Yeah, this opening cinematic where it like breaks down the various cinematics that all break down the different stories and the creation myth and everything else. They like this going this far with a creation myth really made everything in this game feel like it was truly an epic story that was being told. Like, this is it, guys. We have broken into a whole new dimension and we're going to do what we can to make, just the greatest thing ever for you.
Yeah, also just showing the whole origin story because you never really quite got this whole myth. I mean, you got bits and pieces, starting with how Link to the Past explained the Golden Land.
Yep. I will be right back.
All right, see you then. There have been quite a number of places that were influenced by the general sword and fantasy, Lord of the Rings and Dungeons and Dragons. Final Fantasy especially was, because it was that time where they figured, hey, we need to get our own role-playing game similar to how Dungeons and Dragons works. Yeah, and it's great because it's like it's a symbol right there. Like you help stop the evil within the Deku tree because you are the Deku or the hero. Exactly, Alex. cast the curse upon me. Sneaking into the castle. Yeah, and then it became a video game with early games for PC such as Eye of the Beholder. Later on, it's Baldur's Gate. So they even have D&D based games. A lot of what Interplay made, such as Fallout, was based on the kind of mechanics and rules of a D&D game. So more or less, D&D ultimately became a game for PC and for consoles. Now we've got Baldur's Gate 3. I'm not going to play Baldur's Gate 3 until I've played the first one to completion, which I'll do at some point. Yeah, you left your daughter behind. What are you thinking? I woke you up and reminded you to go back there. The part where you get the sun song. Read it. Where's another? I'm trying to remember the other epic parts of this. Oh yeah, so this is where you get to this point because you unlock the passageway to the Goron city. You need a bomb to do it. So you go back to creating the shortcut. You go back there. It happens, Shadow Master. Things get old. Um, Nothing lasts forever. Is that what they say? Uh, I do think there'll be something that eventually revives. A renaissance is a rebirth, and in order for a rebirth to happen, there first has to be a fall. So good things will still come down the future. As long as you'll have that imagination, there will be a game of some kind. All right.
I'm back. Oh, and just in time for the Resident Evil section. Yeah, if this moment didn't solidify how just like how bad things have actually gotten for everybody. Is your mic muted?
Oh, I accidentally double clicked. I'm sorry. Hey, figure out if the fairy cave is still around.
You're good. You're good.
Can't cross that yet. Don't fall. Mm-hmm. Don't fall. Don't go off. Oh. Drop the bomb.
Oh, that's a way to get. I don't know why I never considered that to be a way to go get the Skulltula, but I think I remember backflipping into it.
Yeah. Finding all the secrets. That's a big thing in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to the graveyard. So, yeah, that's the other thing I liked about this is there's a connection between the past and future, such as, you plant a bean in the past, if you find those holes in the ground, and the bean grows into a stalk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they added so many extra world details and everything else. It really genuinely felt like you were on a grandiose adventure,
Yeah, they sure did. And this is one of those big cases of somehow there's a whole dungeon within a tiny hole.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, because for some reason Dampy was just like, screw it, I'm just gonna do this, and anybody who tries to come after my come after my corpse for some reason can just have this terrible misadventure down here.
Or maybe he thinks you're an imposter and you're not the kid he knew. Prove it. Oh, and it's longer in the 3DS than it is in the N64, but
is it?
It might be.
It felt like it was the same.
Oh, it's more detail. I'm sorry. I keep forgetting there's that kind of ramp you have to go on the end.
Mm-hmm.
So after throwing fireballs at me when I chase you, I get a hook shot.
Mm-hmm. Such a good item, too.
It's better when you finally get the upgraded version. Yeah, I mean, it's basically a nice way to just say, okay, there's, it goes back to A Link to the Past where you have two versions of the same world, but you have to go in between them to get certain items. For instance, one dungeon in A Link to the Past, you really have to go into there by going to that same location in the light world and then change to the dark world with the magic mirror to get back there. And there's also the reverse is true too.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, there's a male born every 100 years, and he is meant to be the king. Now, the thing with the Gerudos that they put in there is that it seems implied that the witches were getting Ganondorf to indoctrinate to feel that he was the chosen one. I'm not sure. I'm gonna find that soon when I get to the Gerudo dungeon again. So here he teaches you the song. You have to learn the song from him in the past, and you play it here again.
Mm-hmm.
This is how you get the Song of Storms, which is where you can make it rain by playing it, not singing it.
Yeah, what an odd paradox that the game introduces here.
Yeah. So he he gave you the song in the past, you played in the future, but then the idea came from where?
Can you imagine the existential crisis this dude must have? Like, wait a minute, if I did I teach him the song? Did I do this to myself? How could I have done it? Like, science, like actual science and
Cause and effect.
was just introduced to this realm, and now and because he just can't quite figure it out.
Yeah. Oh, and that's the other thing too, is that I keep forgetting. I need to, when I continue my playthrough, I need to remember that you can shoot the hook shot and get a shingle and pull yourself up to the roof. How did I not remember that? Well, I guess I remember it now. Yeah, so Alex, it further goes into it in later games because with the idea of demise and his curse. So basically, there's the evil god of demise, and demise is what comes back, is in the soul of each of the rare Gerudo male that comes every 100 years. Now it's odd with Ganondorf because he didn't, in the Ocarina trilogy, which goes from Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and Twilight Princess, he didn't die, so there couldn't be a new Gerudo male. Because Ganondorf was technically alive, but in the Twilight realm or Sacred realm. So he didn't have a new Gerudo. It is supposed to be a paradox because he taught Link that in the past, and then Link comes in time. He time travels to the future.
Yeah, because he learns it in the future, but he's supposed to have played it in the past, which doesn't make any sense because there's no way that he should have been able to learn it in the past or learn it in the future to play it in the past. It's a really goofy paradox that people have brought up a lot. It's like when John Connor was sent Kyle Reese back in time, knowing he was his dad, and specifically sent him to knock up Sarah. What if Kyle had been honorable and not pursued her? Yeah, it's almost like John somehow knew more about Kyle and his thoughts of Sarah all those years ago.
Well, that's the paradox to it because John had the tape recording. That's how he knew. But I think Kyle Reese knew it by the end, but because he got asked all these questions like, "Who's the father?" and then he realized, "Oh, it's me." So it's been fun following this. I'm not going to spoil the whole one. So here we are. And well, yeah, the cause and it's not really, but the cause and effect becomes a little reversed. I mean, you know, he got it from the guy in the past, but then he brings it with him into the future because he remembers what he was told in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I know it's near the end. That was quite a long one. I was enjoying it quite a bit for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
But last week, whatever happened to Unbreakable. Next week is whatever happened to Deus Ex, the series of stealth action RPGs. So should be pretty good. Thank you everyone for stopping by. Again, same time, same channel. So thank you everyone for coming.
I will not be available next week.
That's fine.
I will be out of town. And
hey,
week after,
have a nice trip. So everyone, see you later.
Thank you.
What? All right.